he said in the special that, I was hospitalized by this person. And mind you, him and Diddy have had a business falling out. They said they had a beef. So the choke, no choke was a videographer. And he was like, yo, I was there. He said Diddy was responsible for what happened to him and that he's the one that called the FBI. And Choke added, I don't think he was joking.
There's a moment in every scandal when the truth slips out. Not in a courtroom or a police report, but in the one place no one expects. A comedy special. And that's exactly what happened when Jamie Foxx took the stage in Atlanta last October, microphone in hand, smiling at the crowd like it was just another night of jokes. Except this time, the punchline was a federal investigation. Because buried beneath the laughter and the applause, Foxx allegedly dropped a bombshell so explosive that even the audience didn't realize what they were hearing at first. Diddy tried to harm me. And if that sounds like the kind of thing you'd only hear in a conspiracy theory, well, here's the kicker. It wasn't just talk. According to insiders, Foxx had already told the FBI the same thing. The only question left is why he waited until now to say it out loud. And the answer to that might just rewrite everything we think we know about what really goes on behind closed doors in Hollywood.
Next doctor said, something going on up there. I won't say it on camera, I won't say it.
Let's be clear about the timeline, because the timing isn't coincidence. Fox's Netflix special, What Had Happened Was taped over 3 nights, October 4th, 5th, and 6th, just weeks after Diddy's arrest on federal charges. The special drops on December 10th. 50 Cent's documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, premieres on Netflix 2 days earlier. That's not a scheduling accident. That's a coordinated strike. Sources familiar with the production timeline tell us 50 Cent's team knew Foxx was sitting on explosive claims about Diddy, and they made sure he'd have no choice but to address them on record in front of a live audience with cameras rolling. The question isn't whether Foxx was pressured. It's whether he realized he was walking into a trap.
During the tapings of his upcoming Netflix special, What Had Happened Was, Jamie Foxx reportedly stated that he was responsible for what happened to him, and Foxx is the one who called the FBI on.
Eyewitnesses who attended the tapings describe a moment that didn't feel like comedy at all. Choke No Joke, a producer and director who was in the room, told Comedy Hype that Foxx didn't just joke about Diddy. He stated flatly, Diddy was responsible for what happened to me, and I'm the one who called the FBI on him. Then, according to Choke, Foxx locked eyes with the crowd and said it again, slower this time, like he was daring someone to challenge him. The audience laughed at first, until they realized he wasn't laughing with them. Another attendee, celebrity security guard Big Homie CC, later told Cam Capone News that Foxx's team confiscated phones before the show, a move that's standard for comedy tapings but takes on a different meaning when the material involves federal investigations and allegations of attempted harm. Big Homie's exact words? I know Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx reported him to the FBI because of it. That's not a rumor. That's a security professional, someone whose job depends on reading threats, stating it as fact. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Foxx's hospitalization in April 2023 wasn't just a medical mystery. It was a missing scene in Diddy's downfall. In a since-deleted Instagram video from July of that year, Foxx described asking a friend for Advil, then snapping his fingers and saying, I was gone for 20 days. No memory, no explanation, just a blackout. His daughter, Corinne, initially called it a medical complication. Foxx later clarified it was something he thought he'd never go through, something that made him question whether he'd survive. Then, in August 2023, he posted and quickly deleted a cryptic message. They harmed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you? At the time, people called it anti-Semitic. Now, it reads like a man who knew he was marked.
Wow. So they told me, I'm in Atlanta, they told me, my sister and my daughter took me to the first doctor.
Fast forward to October 2025. Diddy is in custody, facing racketeering and trafficking charges. The raids on his homes turned up over 1,000 bottles of personal lubricant, illegal substances, and enough firearms to arm a small militia. His trial revealed allegations of freak-offs, private gatherings where, prosecutors claim, women were coerced into performances under the influence of substances, with Diddy's associates allegedly handling logistics like travel and cleanup. Cassie Ventura, his former partner, testified that refusing to participate meant threats, violence, and career sabotage. And then there's Jamie Foxx, who, according to multiple lawsuits, wasn't just a guest at these events. He was a witness. One lawsuit from a former security worker at a 2006 white party alleges drinks were spiked, and that the worker was assaulted after rejecting advances. Another from a then 16-year-old boy claims Diddy lured him to a private area under the guise of a career opportunity, then demanded he undress as a rite of passage. Foxx wasn't just at these parties. He was in the inner circle. And if the allegations are true, he saw what happened when people said no.
With the series, with the film.
I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than answers given.
So why talk now? Because 50 Cent made sure he had no other option. The rapper-turned-mogul has spent years dropping hints about Diddy's private world, from mocking up Diddy Oil baby lubricant labels to sharing clips of accusers describing tampered drinks and forced encounters. His documentary wasn't just an expose, it was a net, and Foxx was the last big fish. Consider the sequence: Cassie's lawsuit in 2023, the federal raids in March 2024, Diddy's arrest in September 2024. Then, in October 2025, Foxx tapes a special where he allegedly confesses to calling the FBI. 2 months later, 50 Cent's documentary drops, featuring interviews with accusers, former associates, and, according to Diddy's legal team, stolen footage of Combs in the days before his arrest. The message? The walls are closing in, and if you're still silent, you're complicit. Foxx's Instagram posts from the tapings tell the real story. He called the special an artistic explanation of something that went terribly wrong. He thanked Atlanta, where he was hospitalized, for giving him a second chance. He cried on stage. This wasn't a comedy set. It was a confession wrapped in punchlines, a way to say what couldn't be said directly, until the documentary forced his hand. And here's the part no one's asking. If Foxx was so terrified of Diddy, why did he wait until Diddy was already in cuffs to speak? Unless, of course, he wasn't just scared of Diddy. Maybe he was scared of what would happen if he talked too soon. Because let's not forget the pattern. Cassie Ventura's lawsuit was settled in a day, with no admission of guilt. Other accusers have described threats, payoffs, and careers destroyed. One former Bad Boy Records artist claimed in 50 Cent's documentary that Diddy would spike sparkling beverage bottles at parties, then use the footage as leverage. The system wasn't just about power. It was about silence. And Jamie Foxx, an Oscar winner with nothing left to prove, just broke it.
Today, we are finally hearing from Oscar and Grammy winner Jamie Foxx after his mysterious health scare, saying he has been to...
Now, the question isn't what Foxx saw. It's what he's still not telling us, because in the footage from his special, there's a moment where he pauses after saying, "Diddy did something to me," then adds, "I won't say it on camera." That's not a joke. That's a man who knows the cameras are still rolling, and that some truths are too dangerous to say out loud. Not yet, at least. But 50 Cent's documentary is out, the special is coming, and Diddy's trial is far from over. So let's ask the real question. If Jamie Foxx was willing to risk this much to talk, what's stopping the next person from doing the same? And more importantly, who's next? Because in a story like this, there's always a next. And this time, the cameras are ready. Let's talk about the parties. Not the ones you've seen in magazines or on social media. The glossy, sparkling, beverage-soaked gatherings where celebrities pose for photos and the music never stops. We're talking about the other kind. The kind former publicist Rob Shooter, who worked with Diddy in the early 2000s, described as a circus, where the ringmaster wasn't just hosting, but testing. Where the real invitation wasn't to the VIP section, but to a private area where the rules changed. And where, according to Terrence Howard in a now viral interview, some men walked in with their reputations intact and walked out having lost their man card. A phrase that sounds like locker room talk until you realize what it's really describing. The cost of saying no.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
The white parties were the crown jewel of Diddy's empire. Glamorous, exclusive. The kind of event where Jay-Z and Beyonce would debut new music, and where the guest list read like a who's who of Hollywood and hip-hop. But behind the all-white dress code and the fireworks, something darker was allegedly happening. Neighbors on Diddy's Beverly Hills Street, where Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion sat just a few doors down, told the BBC they called the police 14 times in 7 years over disturbances at his estate. One resident described seeing young women stumbling out at all hours, lost, their underwear showing, as if they'd woken up in the wrong place. That's not a party gone wrong. That's a pattern. And patterns, as we've learned, are how federal investigators build cases.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't put it past somebody like Diddy, who we know the track record from his allegedly having people shot, baby oil that had freaking in it, to all the crazy stuff that's going on. This is the least of my thing. If you have a beef with somebody, then poisoning them.
Now let's talk about the lawsuits. In 2024, a man who was just 16 at the time filed a complaint alleging that at Diddy's 1998 white party in the Hamptons, he was lured to a private area under the promise of a career boost, only to be told to undress as a rite of passage. Another lawsuit from a former adult film performer claims she was groomed into a system where drinks were allegedly spiked, and refusal meant being blacklisted. A third, from a security worker at a 2006 event, describes being assaulted after rejecting advances. 3 separate cases, 3 different years, one common thread: the allegation that Diddy's parties weren't just about excess, they were about control. And if Jamie Foxx was there, as photos and multiple accounts confirm, then he wasn't just a guest. He was in the room where it happened, which brings us back to April 2023, when Foxx collapsed after taking what he described as Advil from a friend, then vanished for 20 days with no memory of what happened. His daughter called it a medical complication. Foxx later hinted it was something far worse, something that made him question whether he'd survive. Now, connect the dots. Foxx was hospitalized in Atlanta, the same city where, according to prosecutors, Diddy's freak-offs, private substance-fueled gatherings, were allegedly orchestrated with the help of his inner circle. The same city where, in 2025, Foxx chose to tape his Netflix special, the one where he allegedly pointed at Diddy and said, he was responsible. Coincidence? Or was Foxx's hospitalization the moment he saw too much, and his sudden re-emergence in October 2025, right after Diddy's arrest, the moment he finally felt safe enough to talk? Here's where the story gets even more disturbing. Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit didn't just accuse Diddy of abuse. It described a tremendously loyal network of associates who would allegedly do anything to protect him. She claimed that when she tried to leave, his team threatened to block her music releases. Other accusers have described similar tactics. Careers stalled, opportunities vanished, all for crossing the wrong person. So when Foxx stood on that stage in Atlanta and said, "People keep asking me if Diddy was responsible. He was not responsible. If he was, I would have been gone." It wasn't a denial. It was a tell. Because why would you even say, if he was, unless you knew what he was capable of? And why would you follow it up with, "I would have been gone," unless you'd seen what happens to people who talk?
If I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that.
Let's not forget the bigger picture. Diddy's trial revealed allegations of a criminal enterprise where his business empire, Bad Boy Records, his clothing line, his media ventures, wasn't just a brand, but a shield. Prosecutors claimed his team handled everything from booking travel for out-of-town guests to cleaning up after the events, ensuring no traces were left behind. They described freak-offs, where participants were allegedly coerced into performances, with Diddy's associates facilitating every step, and they presented evidence of payoffs, like the $100,000 allegedly given to a hotel security guard to keep quiet about an assault on Cassie. In that context, Foxx's sudden hospitalization starts to look less like bad luck and more like a warning.
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping. And it's not personal. This is why it never resulted in me doing anything to him or him doing anything to me.
Now, consider the timing. Foxx tapes his special in October 2025. 50 Cent's documentary drops in December. Both center on the same question. What did the people around Diddy know, and when did they know it? 50 Cent didn't just want to expose Diddy, he wanted to expose the system that protected him. And Foxx, whether he realized it or not, became the star witness. Because when you're an Oscar winner with nothing left to prove, and you still wait until the most powerful man in the room is in handcuffs to speak, that's not fear, that's survival. And that brings us to the final unsettling question. If Jamie Foxx, someone with his fame, his resources, his influence, felt he had to wait this long to talk, what does that say about the people who haven't spoken yet? The assistants who booked the flights, the security who looked the other way, the other A-listers who attended the parties and never said a word. Diddy's trial may be over, but the reckoning isn't. Because the one thing we've learned from all of this, silence isn't golden. It's complicity. But the silence isn't just about fear. It's about calculation. Because while Jamie Foxx's name is now tied to this scandal, there are others who've managed to stay in the shadows, despite whispers that place them at the same events, the same private gatherings, the same after-parties where the rules allegedly bent beyond recognition. We're talking about A-listers whose careers depend on never being linked to controversy, let alone criminal investigations. The kind of names that make publicists panic and studio executives start drafting damage control statements before a single allegation even surfaces. And right now, according to 3 industry insiders with knowledge of 50 Cent's upcoming documentary project, those names are sitting in a folder marked Part 2, waiting to see if they'll be exposed or if the storm passes them by. The anxiety isn't just theoretical. In the weeks since Foxx's special aired, a noticeable shift has taken place behind the scenes. Agents are quietly advising clients to avoid comment on anything related to Diddy. Publicists are scrubbing old social media posts that place their clients at his events. And at least 2 major talent agencies have allegedly held emergency meetings to discuss contingency plans if certain names appear in the next installment of The Reckoning. Why? Because the documentary isn't just about Diddy. It's about the ecosystem that enabled him. And in Hollywood, ecosystems don't just include the predators. They include the ones who looked away, the ones who benefited, and the ones who knew exactly what was happening and said nothing. The fear isn't just about being named. It's about being remembered for what you didn't stop. Take, for example, the rumors swirling around a certain Rand B superstar, someone who's been a staple at Diddy's parties for over a decade, who's collaborated with him on music, and who's even been photographed at his Miami mansion during the same time frame when federal agents later found evidence of alleged misconduct. This isn't speculation pulled from thin air. It's a pattern. The artist's name has surfaced in at least 2 civil lawsuits as a person of interest, not as a perpetrator, but as someone who was present during incidents that are now under scrutiny. Their team has already issued a blanket denial, calling the connections coincidental. But here's the thing about coincidences in a case like this. They don't age well. And with 50 Cent's documentary promising to dive deeper into the who else knew angle, those denials might not be enough. Then there's the case of the award-winning actor, someone whose career was built on playing the hero, who allegedly attended multiple white parties in the early 2000s. Unlike Foxx, this actor has never addressed the rumors, not even to deny them. But according to a former Bad Boy Records employee who spoke to The Hollywood Reporter on condition of anonymity, the actor wasn't just a guest. They were a frequent guest, the kind who showed up early and stayed late, who was seen in areas of the estate that were off-limits to most attendees. The employee claims the actor was even present during one incident in 2005 that later became the subject of a confidential settlement. No charges were ever filed, no names were ever made public, and the actor's career continued to thrive. But in the age of documentaries and leaked footage, old settlements don't stay buried forever. The real tension, though, isn't just about who was there, it's about who isn't talking. Because for every Jamie Foxx willing to hint at the truth, there are half a dozen others who've stayed silent, even as the walls close in. Some of them have legitimate reasons, non-disclosure agreements, legal threats, or genuine fear of retaliation. But others, they're waiting to see which way the wind blows. And that's what makes the next phase of this story so volatile. 50 Cent's documentary isn't just a tell-all, it's a test of loyalty, of survival instinct, of how long you can stay quiet when the spotlight is inching closer to your door. The most damning part? The public already suspects. Social media sleuths have spent months combing through old party photos, matching timelines, and listing names. Some of the theories are wild, unfounded, the kind of conspiracy-fueled guesswork that thrives in the absence of real information, but some of them aren't. And that's what has the industry on edge. Because in a scandal this big, the truth doesn't just come from the accusers or the accused. It comes from the ones who were there and who are now praying their names don't end up in the next headline.
Diddy claimed that somebody held a knife to his throat. He woke up and this guy basically had him and he had the knife and Diddy was at this person's mercy. Now, it's unclear what exactly happened from there. Was there a guard that came in? Did Diddy somehow fight this person off? Well, seems unlikely that happened. Or did the person just leave? Bottom line, this guy, at least according to people close to Diddy and Diddy himself, could have hurt him badly or even taken his life.
So let's leave you with this. If Jamie Foxx really did call the FBI, if he really did see what he claims he saw, then the next question isn't about Diddy. It's about the rest of them. The ones who are still quiet, the ones who are still protecting themselves, and the ones who might be next to break their silence. Because in a story like this, the truth doesn't stay buried forever. Stay sharp, stay curious, and as always, we'll be watching.